This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing, runway 7, Bravo.
All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. As usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. So let's waste no time, folks. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Firefighters have been making headlines quite a bit. A lot of firefighting going on. 2 firefighters were injured on the city's south side fighting a fire. Now, overall, firefighters have been very, very busy in these tough times. Canfield Fire Department made headlines because of staffing struggles. A lot of people saying they're having a problem finding good help. Now, departments are just having a hard time finding workers, period. In this story. Now, overall, there have not only been local firefighter stories making headlines, but they've also been making a lot of international headlines also because of certain things that have been going on with loss of life. Now, there's been some firefighters who have lost their life in a lot of stories. Now, with so much attention on firefighters, now may be a good time to start preaching about fire safety. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. Struthers City Schools set to put a levy on the ballot. Like Youngstown, Struthers is looking to put a levy on the ballot to support their school system. They got to pay some bills. Now, meeting budget goals is very important in this new day and age, and Struthers is just one of many districts trying to meet those goals with a tax levy. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3, an update on activity in Lordstown. There's been a lot of activity going on in Lordstown, so let's do a recap of what's been making headlines. There's new talk about a naval shipyard. In this story, there is talk about a 476-acre manufacturing and warehouse complex connecting a vast network of naval operations out of state to this state. So that's what the one story that's been making about Lordstown. The LMC, Lordstown Motor Company pickup truck, has also been in headlines because it's set to be released in 2022. GM also plans to operate the first Ultium battery gigafactory plant in Lordstown. So there's still a lot of activity taking place in Lordstown. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4. Youngstown City Schools are trying to prevent another change, or trying to make another change, or trying to keep things from changing. The talk now is position from CEO to superintendent. Youngstown City Schools now face another decision in the district. Now, this time the school district has to decide whether to keep CEO Justin Jennings as superintendent. Mr. Jennings has served as CEO since August 2019. Now, Mr. Jennings is beyond qualified for the position. His resume includes a varsity basketball scholarship at Purdue University, a bachelor's in arts, 3 master's degrees in education leadership, special education administration, and special education, period. Mr. Jennings has all other qualifications as well, and he also got a job offer in Akron. So, but it was later dissolved. So it was probably thin out. No, he says he seems like he's here to stay. Now, over the years, Youngstown has seen a number of changes in regards to leadership transitions and will now consider Jennings for the permanent job. Now, this front page article made headlines on February 1st, so it is still developing. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5: How safe is old Youngstown? compared to new Youngstown with new people, old Youngstown. Now may be the time to talk infrastructure and upgrades in Youngstown, folks. This is after several articles made headlines after Youngstown's old buildings and infrastructure problems continue. Now we can cite two important headlines about a bridge that collapsed in Pittsburgh and another headline that surfaced some time back about an entire building that collapsed in Florida. Recent articles that have made headlines in regards to the city include the downtown police station. This has been in circulation about chip cement and all other things. Now, once this story made headlines about the building that could be structurally unsound, this was yet another headline pointing out about the problems of dilapidated properties and structures in Youngstown. Now, roads and the Oak Hill Renaissance building have also made some headlines, and a number of other older residential buildings and downtown properties have made headlines also, showing that there's a need for some upgrades. And we may be hoping to get some upgrades, hopefully, in the city. Now, a train has also made some headlines because that was near downtown, causing it didn't cause any harm, but it did cause some, it jumped off the tracks probably because of old tracks. Now, this brings up the questions of updates and upgrades in the city, especially when you talk about train tracks, buildings, and all the other stuff that comes around. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Big headline. Story number 6. State reps now want an audit of the 3 school districts. Wow. On the 27th of January, Michelle Lepore Hagan, a Youngstown Democrat, and 2 others introduced a bill for an audit and review of the 3 districts under the authority of the Academic Distress Commission. Now, according to the article, the audit is to make sure that taxpayer money is being utilized properly by performing by performing a performance audit. So they're trying to make sure that the district is up to speed by performing a performance audit, which to them makes sense. Now, the district has been under a lot of pressure to get above an F grade, and COVID-19 has not made it any better. That's why this story almost made it to the top 2 this week. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week so you can be informed, especially handcrafted and hand-picked from the Mediator Bakery, baby. Ooh, can't beat it. Ooh-wee. Story number 7. What is in the Intel deal, folks? $2 billion, $700 million in road work and water infrastructure upgrades, 30-year tax breaks that will allow Intel to save $650 million, and a combined economic and workforce grant of about $150 million, according to a local Vindicator article. The city of New Albany has even offered to give Intel a 30-year 100% property tax abatement on buildings. This was a report in the Columbus Dispatch. Now, Ohio beat out 40 other states to get this deal, so they are making preparations, and people have high hopes that Intel will make a difference in Ohio. That's why story number 7 made to the top 2 this week locally. Big headline. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. There can be stories if you believe. There can be a story to give you what you need. I was in the choir at age 3. As you can see, I've developed. Story number 8. The Valley workforce is still being tested. And this is a big headline because if people are going to be bringing businesses in, we have to work. The local work ethic is still in the headlines, folks. Employers and workers both have their own grievances, but this story is staying alive. Some businesses just can't find help, any good help, period. And many blame aid money and the local work ethic on the problem. Either way, the Valley's work ethic is being tested. Workers have a voice in this fight, though. They're saying that some workers are pointing out their circumstances. Women need babysitters and fathers need more money and all that other stuff. Now, it's important to note that in this story that it has been intensified because of COVID-19. So every day, new developments about the workforce are coming in. That's why story number 8 made it to the top this week, because we've got to work to keep the valley going. That's why I made it this week. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines. So don't go anywhere in developing news stories. So don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, it is officially Black History Month, and I've been a little bit exhausted reading and trying to figure out what to present to you for Black History Month. So I'm going to tell you a story about a little young man named James. James went out into the jungle. He saw killing and violence, and he saw torment of people of all races. And he wanted his story to be told on Black History Month. His friends tried to get him to sue and start a riot. But James said, I'm going to do something a little differently this year. I'm going to go in my room and I'm going to read a book about Frederick, Harry, Abraham, and the abolitionists. This is the only way to solve the problem. I'm not going to riot. I'm not going to blow anything up. And I'm not going to cause any more problems. Little James has made it into the Black History Hall of Fame. This story is based on a young man that told his story to me when I was confused and conflicted by my own troubles, not knowing which way to go, saddened by what has been taking place currently. So meeting little James gave me a story to tell this year. And it's given me hope and inspiration that the brothers and sisters will unite in holy matrimony and come together and bond with our fellow Americans and not feel displaced. That's my message this Black History Month. I believe in you and me. See, I was lost, but now I'm free. I believe in you and me. So, folks, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Why are people turning to drugs and suicide? Big question. Scary question. After the death of former 2019 Miss USA, which is a very, very sad story, which is still being investigated. Many are contemplating that suicide is once again on the radar. Depression, all types of stuff. Now, just to give you an idea of how bad the story is, we have to come to terms with why people are either using drugs or committing suicide. This is some serious stuff. Now, suicide has been a problem in just about every industry and every country. Now, that means that it's a global problem. Now, drug abuse is also a global problem. Mental health has been in so many trending stories that maybe that letter of encouragement isn't so bad after. Story number 2. The gun outrage continues. Madness. More mass shootings in public places have this story causing more gun rage, or rage against guns, period. Now, this story is bringing people right into the reality that the gun issue is real, and it's not going away with the snap of a finger. Now, a few weeks ago, it was hostages at a synagogue in Texas. Then, a 4-year-old dead after it was found, was just gone, dead after a gun fired in a car with adults smoking marijuana. Then it gets deeper. A California firefighter was shot and killed while fighting a dumpster fire. Then it gets more. 80 guns stolen from cargo trains in Los Angeles. And there's more. A Philadelphia store clerk was shot during an armed robbery. Then there's more. A student shot dead and one injured after a shooting outside of a Minnesota school. Then there was another story. An officer shot during a Bridgewater College campus shooting. There's more and more stories every day that are still in circulation, probably even after the show gets aired and before. Now, that's a lot of gun stories in less than 2 weeks, showing why the gun outrage is real and why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3. The migration problem is growing because there could be nowhere else to go for some people, folks. And that's reality. Finding out why people migrate to another country is not hard. People migrate because of war, poverty, corruption, and a load of other things. America's border agents are sounding the alarm on a still growing problem in a world filled with crisis, especially border crises. And the borders are being overwhelmed. Now, when you have well over 100,000 people fleeing into your country, that's a problem. And many are getting on the Biden administration saying something has to be done because this can't continue to take place. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4. How big is the Russia-Ukraine story? It's bigger than you may think. Now, to give you an idea of the Russia-Ukraine story, the Ukraine story period that has been in mainstream headlines for some weeks now, we have to focus on the fall of the Soviet Union. So the history now and what has been taking place in the region currently. That's a fact. Now, this story has everything to do with NATO. And the advancement of Ukraine's democracy since declaring its independence some time ago. Now, America is playing 2 positions in this conflict, if not more. Diplomats are acting as mediators and police in this scenario to make sure that things do not get out of hand. There's other things going on as well in the American saga in this story. Now, this is the case even after more troops have been sent to the region. Now, this conflict in Ukraine has been going on for some time now, but the key thing to focus on is strategy and why conflicts continue to escalate in the region. Now, it's clear that this is similar to a chess match in which no one wants a Cold War, but analysts strongly conclude that Putin has interest in Ukraine's prosperity and deals with the EU, and that is for a reason, because if Ukraine prospers, that could mean some strategical changes and alliances that Putin may not want in his term. He has a long term. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4. So don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, once again, I have to remind you that it is Black History Month, and I had some plans. I wanted to go visit some historical sites, but they never called me back, and I wanted to do something special for the show, but we're in a day and age where either people just have just forgotten, or they've just kind of left the traditions in the back burner, probably because of COVID. Who knows? But I will leave you with this, though. I've tried to look at the history books and tried to make sense of today's environments, the constant battles between Democrats and Republicans, and the constant state that we're in today. And I'm still in the midst of sitting in my room constantly wondering, where are we going with all of this stuff? There are papers signed, and people are still having a hard time figuring out about this black and white thing, and because of the past brutality of slavery, which we cannot forget. 400 or more years of slavery. And we seem to be still in the same rut that we've been in for a long time. But I will not forget, this is what I'll do this Black History Month, is that there is a lot of good people out there. It's good black or African-American people who are doing the right thing, going to school, coming home, shoveling the snow, cutting the grass, working twice as hard to make this country better, and they cannot be forgotten. And that's what I vowed to do this Black History Month. Even myself, I'm a black man, and I'm constantly trying to do the right thing. And I know that we face adversity, brothers and sisters. We face obstacles and trials and tribulation. There are nights when we're sitting alone in our room, and we may have to get no cuddle hug, no touch it, no feel it, but we have to fight on for greatness. Folks, it is worth the fight. I don't regret doing the right thing. Every week I come here and give you top 8 stories for you. So that's Black History Month in a nutshell. Straight from the Mediator, the pocket of originality. I sent my baby on a Saturday night. Said I told about brutality, and the truth is that you're wrong on your right. I'm thinking about my baby. It don't matter if you're black or white. Straight from the conservative and liberal markets. It don't matter, folks, if you're black or white. If you're liberal conservatives, all it means is that we love each other in America. Peace and happiness reigns supreme, folks. That's my story. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Just get loose for a little bit in the show. It doesn't hurt. It hurt a little bit. You can't do me all story. Story number 5. Most investment advisors and economists want people to stay optimistic for a reason, folks. When there is uncertainty, people panic. That is a fact, and we can see it. Investors, investment advisors are taking notice while also trying to keep investors optimistic. Optimism is the best medicine. They don't want investors to panic and cause a market crash by pulling out. Now, the truth of the matter is that expert market watchers know that there are times of ups and times of downs. Now, another story to watch is the rise of digital currency to try to balance things out. Some countries are actually trying this. Now, to fully understand this story, we have to focus on the study and evolution of the stock patterns and how people have noticed these things over time in the good times and in the bad times, how stocks kind of rebound unnoticeably sometimes. Now, what investors do not want in this story, and why I made it, is for people to panic. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. What is the right path to follow? Now, folks, I gave you a little bit of a monologue about Black History Month. But the question is what is the right path to follow as an American citizen? And the positive people, the people who are doing good. Now, there's a lot at stake in America. There's a lot. And it's not always about the old wounds being opened up when dealing with racial conflicts. It's not always about that. The truth in this story is how disconnected a lot of people still seem to be from the bigger picture, and that is democracy and the Constitution. Now, political infighting is what got the story in, because everyone is trying to get a piece of the pie without looking at the damage that it's doing to the future of the traditional American way. Now, we've watched a lot of stories that make headlines. We see George Floyd, Trayvon, but what we saw was people coming together, but we could be forgetting the process of the judicial system and how things kind of fall together in a melting pot in America. Now, some people are still even turning to the black market to get the things that they want, and in the process, they're choosing to do things illegally. Now, either way, after all is said and done, and people find ways to get their point across, analysts will be turning to the data of what actually happens when people decide to choose the right path and do things by the book instead of breaking the law. That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 this week. Something to think about this Black History Month. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headline, international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Don't want to mess it up, baby. Can't touch this. No, you remember MC Hammer, one who said the Black History Month. Remember MC Hammer, the gold scholar, the gold trawler of dancing, the MC. We got to remember MC Hammer this Black History Month. All right, let's get back to the story. Story number 7. Forgot about MC Hammer. My music hit so hard. What COVID-19, story number 7, what COVID-19 is doing to the working class. This is serious business, story number 7. Employers are still not satisfied with what COVID-19 has done to the working class. They want more. Now, many workers are still complaining about lack of good help and how hard it has been to get people to return back to work. This is what the employers are complaining about, but the workers are saying, why do it if nobody else is? So there's some seesaw battling going on in this story. Now, the travel industry has also been hit. They've seen firsthand what flight delays and cancellations have done when it comes to, because of the results of people not showing up to work and mandatory vaccinations, all of this crazy stuff packed into one story. COVID-19 has also caused many employers to have to pivot more to worker safety and less to all the other stuff. Now, some analysts have also been complaining about how fragile the new age workforce has become. This story can be observed from the top down, and from other points of views also, because without a strong working class, when producing and all this stuff, with all these production lags, this all has something to do with quality. The quality of the product could become a factor. Now, this story also has caused budgeting issues, because more money spent on COVID-19 means less money spent on workers. So in this story, overall, to sum it up, in story number 7, employers are having a problem with finding good help, and workers are saying they have something to say because they want to be safe on the workroom floor. Story number 8, and the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week. Teachers, what are they talking about? And how are they doing? One poll says that a lot of teachers are headed out of their profession, but why? Here's a list. Since COVID-19 hit, it has been harder to educate students, and teachers have had to multitask and mix business with pleasure. Remote learning has a lot to do with that. Student dropouts and absence have also increased. There has also been a big problem finding substitute teachers, making it hard for teachers to call off or to take a break after already being overworked. Now, pay is also a concern. Many teachers feel that they're not nearly paid enough to do the job that they've been instructed to do. Outside interference is also a factor. Teachers have had to deal with parents and outside school threats like bomb threats, guns, and social media, etc. You also have conflicts having to do with politics and pressure to get results from lower performing students. Then you have the advanced curriculum and getting students to meet the grades while also having to deal with their problems at home. These are all factors keeping this story alive. That's why Student Rate made it to the top this week, folks. We have to get it together, and every week we always have to get it together, but we can do it. And that's why these stories made it. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines, the media. You deserve all the credit. I'm just a man in the middle, the mediator. If you want to show some support here at Method 8, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Folks, stay safe. Have a good week, and try to do the right thing. I am out of here. I'll be back next week looking through over 200 or more stories just for you to keep you informed. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the media this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.